This is MNB-TV, sponsored by MyWebGrocer, the leading provider of digital grocery and CPG solutions.
One of the things that manufacturers might be looking for is, and we've talked about this as well, is the notion of big data, right? Is that traditionally in this industry, everything's been sort of measured by transactions, but it's now possible to measure a lot of other stuff.
Right.
And that's what they're going to want from retail.
Yeah, we talked about that. They had, on the plane yesterday, I saw the CEO of Splunk, which actually shared a venture investor with one of my companies. They went public last week, and you know, everybody's like, what is this big data, right? I just don't get it. You know, it's a $3 billion company, so the company's got real value in understanding big data. And the CEO put it quite simply. He said, you know, 10 years ago, you know, the smartest retailers had really good transaction information, right? They understood who bought what, and they could market to customers based on those transactions, right? That was kind of best-in-class capability. He said, today, not only do we have, particularly in an online world, the transaction, but we have all the actions that led up to the transaction. So we can tie that directly to, you know, the initial marketing that got the customer into the session, the clicks that they followed around the session, what they looked at, what they didn't look at, and what they ultimately bought. And that's such a deeper level of intelligence. Obviously, it's a ton more data, which makes it big, but it's a lot more intelligence. And you think about, you know, the connection with that shopper. You know, based on that knowledge, it's so much more robust than we've had in the past. And if you're not a retailer thinking about, you know, understanding the customer at that level, you are done. I mean, you are absolutely, you know, and now you may be able to understand them because you're in the stores, you're interacting with them, right? And you have a level of engagement with them that you're able to get out of your stores. You know, that's a fantastic discipline. But to the extent that they're transacting and doing things online, if you're not taking advantage of that knowledge, both from a data mining and then ultimately marketing to that, you are done. I mean, if you think about on Amazon, right, the personalization that you see on Amazon, there are no two shopping sessions on Amazon that are the same. It is absolutely driven by, you know, your past click stream, your past purchases, you know, the combination thereof, and then algorithmically, you know, kind of applied to the click streams in the session that you're in. And it's incredibly intelligent, and the conversion on that is it's mind-numbing how high that is.
When we first had this conversation, the first thing I thought about was the old saw that says, you know, 50% of marketing works and 50% of marketing doesn't work. The problem, of course, is you don't know which 50% works. But now you know which 50% works because you're able to track it in a different kind of way. And it sounds to me increasingly that if a retailer isn't engaged in this process of trying to of tracking stuff far more than transactions, they're going to be behind the eight ball in a way that is just maybe debilitating long term. I know there'll be people in the audience who want to know, Amazon Fresh. Is this, I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. You can't talk about things that you may know that are not, they're proprietary. But, I mean, one of the things that strikes me about Amazon Fresh is, again, they've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. It's only in Seattle, but they haven't pulled the plug on it. And that suggests to me is they're willing, until there's overwhelming proof that this is not a model that will travel, they're going to keep investing it and tweaking it until they can figure out how to make it work, which means that until they pull the plug, it's a potential threat to everybody in this room. True?
True.
Okay. So you didn't have to say anything. I did.
And now, a few moments with MyWebGrocer.
Right. Suddenly, you used to be able to only measure transactions. Now you can track it. You can track everything that happens up to the moment of, including the transaction.
Right. That's right.
Is that something you're doing for your customer?
It makes it enormously useful data to understand your customer base, to target them, but as importantly, to measure which media is effective. Are you effective buying pay-per-click on Google? Are you effective buying display advertisement on your local newspaper's website? How can you make your media effective? You track that all the way through. And then you can deploy your limited resources against what works, and that's the key.
It's such a change. I mean, to me, the old saw is that 50% of marketing works, of advertising works, but you don't know which 50%, so you have to do it all. Yeah. But now, in fact, you do know which 50% works.
You do know what works, and you should discard that which doesn't, put your resources against that does work, but then also iterate, because there's always ways to improve. Improve the creative, the location, all of the things that you can do to make your media, your advertising, your marketing spend more effective. It's a blessing and a curse in digital. Because you can measure so much, the expectations are also very high. But that's okay, because if you have an effective campaign or product, the data will show that it works. And if it works to move volume, then that's where resources should be deployed.
Next time on MNB-TV.